Yo, welcome to Philosopher's Stoned. It's ya boy, and I'm back again with some ancient knowledge. Tonight's episode is going to be on a very prominent figure in a lot of the topics I'm going to cover. This figure has a lot of accolades. I mean, I could do a whole podcast for a year on Thoth and all the things that he's related to. I guess I just dropped the ball on what the episode's about. We are talking about Thoth. You know what I'm saying? You're about to know what I'm saying if you don't know what I'm saying. So here I am going to get right into Thoth. Thoth. And this is the introduction to the author of the Emerald Tablets. Thoth, commonly known as the Egyptian god of writing, art, judgment, wisdom, magic, the moon, and ultimately the dead. A figure of many responsibilities in Egyptian mythology, he's credited as being the author of everything under the umbrella of science and philosophy, even some forms of alchemy. In many depictions of Thoth, he is of human body with the head of an ibis, sometimes shown with the head of a baboon instead, which is fucking cool because baboons are tight. His symbol of choice is the winged serpent staff. His creation story is fucking wild. It's said that he was self-created or born of the seed of Horus and the forehead of Set. So one of those two. In another story of his birth or creation, it is said he was born from the lips of Ra and was known as the god without a mother. And you guessed it, another story of his mysterious becoming. Thoth is self-created at the beginning of time and as an ibis lays the cosmic egg that apparently held all of creation inside of it. The cosmic egg is a concept I've come across in a few other stories, some Freemason shit, some Cult of Mithra shit, which I definitely am going to get into one day when I got the time. Thoth was also the god of the equilibrium, associated with the divine balance known as Mahat. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Now there's the goddess Mahat, who was seen as the wife of Thoth, and the one who personified the principle of divine balance. But don't get her confused with Thoth's feminine counterpart, Seshat. Yeah, we going back to Egypt for this one, baby, you know what I'm saying? I love all the ancient Egypt shit. That shit is, fuck, it's so deep, and it's so important to know about, I feel like, especially if you're into any of this type of shit. Get to know the Egyptian mythological, just read the Book of the Dead. I mean, fuck, you know what I'm saying? So, to the Sumerians, he was known as Nin-Gazida, a Mesopotamian deity of vegetation and the underworld. So, going back to Thoth ruling the dead. And to the Scandinavians, he was known as Odin, a Germanic mythological god of wisdom, healing, death, royalty, the gallows, knowledge, war, battle, victory, sorcery, poetry, and the runic symbols. So Odin had a lot of medals on his shoulders, you know what I'm saying? It's Odin from Thor, you know what I mean? Now, there was a time before Thoth was recognized as a god, or a godlike figure, being the first great Egyptian philosopher and the founder of the ancient mystery schools, and we'll get back to that in a minute. Now, there was a time before Thoth was recognized as a godlike figure, being the first great Egyptian philosopher and the founder of the ancient mystery schools. I love the mystery school shit, and we're going to get back to that in a minute. Thoth was eventually worshipped, and the epicenter of his cult-like following was Hermopolis, where his chief temple was located as well. There are some notable similarities between Thoth and Hermes Trismegistus from the ancient Greek mythology, but I will cover that on a singular episode about Hermes and the work he accomplished. There's actually the Tablet of Hermes, which I'm going to go over a bunch, so we're going to get real deep into all this Hermeticist stuff, Hermeticism. So as the founder of the ancient mystery schools, Thoth received telepathic messages of wisdom while in deep meditative trances. Supposedly, through these meditative writings, he wrote over 40 books, including the Emerald Tablets, the Divine Pymander, and the Book of Thoth. These writings were to be kept relatively secretive and only handed down to those deserving of the knowledge, which were known as the enlightened initiates. Thoth comes up a lot in esoteric subjects, especially Hermeticism and Hermes, who, like I said, I'll do a whole episode on entirely because there's a lot of connections. I didn't want this episode on Thoth to be 30 minutes long, so I kept them separate. The Emerald fucking Tablets. Now, I've read and studied the fuck out of the Emerald Tablets, and to me, they're a guide for what we would call a Bible of human enlightenment. Thoth wrote that the humans as a species can reach an ascension that would open us up to more than our 5 known senses. So we'd be able to experience clairvoyance, telepathic communications, and reaching the higher dimensions that our souls are eventually supposed to reach lifetime after lifetime. And I'm going to do a series of the Emerald Tablets where I explain my own translations of the text because I feel like the writings resonate differently depending on the reader. These texts were full of magic and incantations, so it said he hid and concealed them in a tomb, where he also buried his spacecraft, so he would one day return and retrieve this craft. Alright, so here is my introduction to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which date back to somewhere around 36,000 BC, written by the Atlantean priest king Thoth, who founded a colony in ancient Egypt after the sinking of the mother country and the architect of the Pyramid of Giza. In the tablets, he includes ancient wisdom, the records of Atlantis, and to me, a guide to human enlightenment required for our ascension to our true form. He reigned for 16,000 years, 50,000 BC till 36,000 BC. His civilization operated at a high standard after their evolvement to their previous barbaric ways. So, after they got done being barbarians and they evolved a little bit intellectually, that was the standard. No more going back to that clubbing your wife bullshit. Thoth was truly an immortal being, meaning he had conquered death, above the physical life and death concept we're all too familiar with. When his time came to leave his land in Egypt, he erected the Great Pyramid of Giza directly over the halls of Amenti. Upon leaving, he appointed guards of his records left behind, and the descendants of the guards became what is referred to as the Pyramid Egyptian priesthood, who spread wisdom to several parts of the world in later eras. I'll explain the halls of Amenti in some of the following episodes in my Emerald Tablet series. Thoth incarnated 3 times, the last incarnation being Hermes Trismegistus, like I said. Trismegistus means the thrice born, so maybe we're waiting on our third Thoth, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's me. This is when he realized the Emerald Tablets to common man and modern occultist would resonate. He knew it would fit in with what the times were. The working of the Emerald Tablets is broken down into 13 plus 2 more that are considered too advanced for us, but we're gonna get to those too because fuck it, there ain't no rules on Philosopher's Stones. The previously mentioned priesthood I talked about, they traveled to South America, where they gave the Mayans the wisdom of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Hence, why the Mayans knew so much about the true knowledge of life. The Emerald Tablets were created alchemically to never erode or break. So, like I said, he was a god who knew alchemy as well. Alright, now to end this episode, here is an excerpt from the first Emerald Tablet. This is the first paragraph, I guess, in tablet number 1. I, Thoth the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, sent down for the guidance of those that are to come after. These records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. So that's a little sample, a little taste of what you're in for when I talk about the Emerald Tablets. It's a very cheap book. I suggest, if this interests you at all, to go ahead and pick it up, read it every chance you get. I've read it over at least 90 times. I loaned a copy to a friend and I have yet to get it back, but I got the PDF file on my iPad, so I'm good. I'll be reading that shit. Thank you for watching Philosopher's Stoned. To let you know what I got coming up, I have the Montauk Project, which is going to continue my CIA project series of the secret experiments they did, kind of piggybacking off my Philadelphia experiment episode, because the two definitely, I would say, connect, since they're all done by the same organizations and the same alphabet agencies, if you want to use that term. I hope you enjoyed this little intro. I know it was kind of short, but I wanted to pump it out. Everything else I got going on right now, episode-wise, it's very deep research, and I want to get everything right. I want to get the reading done so I don't sound like a complete dumbass up here. And I appreciate everybody who's subscribed and tuned in. I love all the feedback, negative and positive. I know there's some things I could improve on, and I'm going to try to improve on those. So, yeah. Thank you guys. Love each and every one of you.